Welcome to the campus of New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary in the Gentilly neighborhood of this great city. I'm standing in front of the gates from the original campus in the Garden District, where the campus was located prior to moving to this location in 1953. Established in 1917, New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary was the first theological institution to be created by the direct action of the Southern Baptist Convention. Originally named Baptist Bible Institute, the name was changed to New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary in 1946. And on this episode of The Road to New Orleans, presented by New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, President Jamie Dew joins us to tell us more about this school of providence and prayer. Hello, welcome to this week's edition of The Road to New Orleans, and we've got a special guest. Our series is brought to you by New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, and we've got the president of New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary joining us this week, Dr. Jamie Dew. Dr. Dew, thanks for being here.
Hey man, thanks for having me. Thanks for doing this. I'm excited about the convention this year, being in our city.
Oh, I bet you are. I know you are, in fact, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you're coming up on 4 years as president at New Orleans. It's time flies when you're having fun, right? What have you learned about yourself in that time and the leadership role that you've got there at the seminary?
Yeah, these are dog years, by the way. So really, this is my 28th year, I guess you could say. I've learned, I think two things I'd say. I've discovered in the process of all the madness over the last 4 years and I'm kind of frustrated with myself that it took me this long to discover this about me, that I really, in terms of spiritual disciplines, thrive on silence and solitude. Just so rich to me. So the season has forced me into a lot of those moments, and that's been really good. And then I've learned the seat that I sit in and the work that we've been doing for the last few years. It's just the kind of work that's forced me again and again and again to be in a posture of dependence on the Lord, and that's been very joyful, actually. As hard as the moments have been, spiritually they've been that good. So it's been a good ride, and I'm grateful for it.
Now you coming into New Orleans, you'd spent a lot of time in Wake Forest. You were on the faculty there at Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary, served as the dean of the college at Southeastern there. What have you learned about the city of New Orleans in the last 4 years? I mean, it's just kind of a new experience to you. What have you learned about the city there?
Yeah, so I say often that the city of New Orleans is both the mission field and the mission force. And I mean that. I mean, this is a place that desperately needs Southern Baptists to be there. We need to be in this city. They need our witness. They need our help. I think also, though, Southern Baptists need our city. I think that this context provides us the opportunity to learn and think and apply in ways that you're just not going to get in a lot of places. This is not the South at all, even though we're way, way, way South. It's just such a unique context. It's certainly got its challenges. I mean, I'd be lying to folks if I said that, it's all hunky-dory and a bed of roses here. It's not. There's real issues here. And yet at the same time, the opportunities that are here, and the charms of this city are unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. I did not want to live anywhere other than North Carolina and comfortable Wake Forest. And I thank God every day now that I'm here that I get to do this. I get to do it here. And if I woke up tomorrow and I weren't the president of this school, I hope that the Lord would let me stay right here, because it's fantastic. So definitely been a good adventure for the Dew crew. And my kids love it here. My wife loves it here. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've got her on the series as well. Yeah, we had a conversation that we taped with her. Yeah. And she loves being there in New Orleans. So, and I know when I first called you about moving the annual meeting to New Orleans, I called you one afternoon and was like, hey, I got some news, and I think you're going to like it. You were probably the most excited person out there whenever I called you about that. And I mean, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because, by the time I'd finished the interview process for this job, I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder because I felt like Southern Baptists tend not to see this city the way they ought to see this city. They could see the storms, they could see the troubles and stuff like that, and there was like this aversion to our city. And yet at the same time, I knew that Southern Baptists meant it with all their heart when they talked about the Great Commission and going to the hard places and shining the light in the darkness. I knew they meant that. And so now I'd seen it, and I just have always wanted, from the very moment that I knew I was coming here, I've wanted so badly the opportunity to let Southern Baptists see it the way I see it, and to see it for what I think she is, and the opportunity that's there, and including our school. And, Southern Baptists coming here and the whole convention arriving in our city and having a moment like this just gives us an opportunity to do that candidly, I never would have even dreamed could be possible. So yeah, when you made that call to me that day, it was like, oh my word, this is the opportunity that we've always wanted. And so I'm thankful. I'm thankful anytime Southern Baptists want to come to our city, whether it's for the convention or they just want to come in town to visit. I'm grateful anytime they come to our city to see what we're doing and what it's like here.
Well, you guys, the seminary, the administration there, y'all jumped headfirst into helping with the planning over the past few months. I know you've got a lot planned at the seminary campus, so kind of give people a preview of what you have planned for Messengers this summer.
Yeah, I've got a really, really good team that works hard. My job in all this has been to give some basic directives, which were essentially blow it up. Let's sponsor things we don't normally sponsor. Let's do events that we don't normally do, and let's just do everything we can. And so that team has stepped into that, and they're working really, really hard to do that. There's lots of things going on the front end, with crossover and some other things like that, where we'll be hosting, and we always are involved in that very heavily. But we'll be hosting and coordinating and doing all those kinds of things. One of the things I'm particularly excited about is on the back end of the convention this year. We debated whether or not we would have our luncheon on campus or to do it there at the convention center, and the timing is such it just won't work out for us to bring everybody way over here and then get them back for business at the convention. We really need folks to be there in the convention hall for that. So what we're doing instead is we'll do our luncheon there around the convention, and then after the convention is officially over, we're having essentially a huge party for Southern Baptists on our campus. I think we've ordered 15,000 char-grilled oysters, beignets, and we're working on every possible thing that we can do to show them our city. We'll be doing the ribbon cutting of the Luter Center, the Luter Student Center. It was formerly the Hardin Student Center. And we had essentially a $2 million gift to renovate that building, and it came with the ability with naming rights. And in conversations with the donor and with our trustees, it was sort of unanimously decided we need to name this after perhaps the most significant pastor that this city's ever known, and that's Fred Luter.
Wow!
And so we call him the pastor of New Orleans, and we're delighted to get to do that. And so we've been working hard on renovations for the cafeteria, which is now named after our 7th president. Landrum Level be called Landrum Hall. And we're also about to finally start work on the student center on the exterior renovations. Interior renovations are done. The exterior renovations are just now about to begin. We'd hope to get those done way before, but permitting. We finally got our permits and we're ready to go now, but permitting takes a lot longer down here. So anyway, all that is being done to try to host the SBC.
Okay, a couple things. First of all, if you've got 15,000 char-grilled oysters, and I'm going to be there, what is everybody else going to eat? That's a question there.
That's right.
And then the second thing, like I've been on campus. I was on campus, I don't know, a decade ago or so, and then came back, when we started coming down there, and the renovations to the student center, like you're talking about, I mean, it just blew me away.
No, thanks.
I was blown away.
Thanks.
And so, I mean, it just, you guys have done a great job with the campus there. I can't wait to see what the final renovations, and especially with the cafeteria and everything. Southern Baptists are going to be really pleased to see what the campus at New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary looks like when they come to town this June. Speaking of coming to town, what are some places people need to be sure to see and visit while they're in town?
Yeah, so we have a guide to this. I believe it's called nobts-visitnola.com. There's a website, nobts-
and we'll link that in the show notes for today's episode.
Yeah, so check out that website. It's a whole, we put together, this is one of the first things we started working on when we got that phone call from you. We started putting together, which is actually, by the way, going to work out, so it's providential. It's going to work out on the back end of the SBC as well, because we have lots of visitors all the time to our city, and this is now a resource we can give to them. But essentially, this is one of the first things we started working on. It's a whole website devoted to, here's where you need to go eat. It's broken down by the genre of food. People always ask me, what's your favorite restaurant in the city? It depends on what kind of food I'm in the mood for, right? I have different favorites for soul food than I do for seafood or Cajun food or whatnot. So depending on what kind of food you want, it's broken down, and it's my favorites. It's my team's favorites. It's the favorites of the locals. I mean, so for example, people are going to say, oh, go to Drago's. Look, Drago's has fantastic oysters, probably the best in the city. I will say, though, there's a lot of other restaurants that have almost just as good, but their menus are superior, and they're just phenomenal. So, I'm sending folks to where the locals go. We have the World War II Museum. If you're interested in World War and history, World War II in particular, it's phenomenal. You definitely have to check that out. We give you guides and routes on like what streets to go down, like St. Charles Avenue and some things like that. Places in the French Quarter that you want to see, places in the French Quarter you want to avoid. I'll just go ahead and tell everybody, don't go to Bourbon Street.
Maybe the most important part there.
There. Don't go to Bourbon Street. Nobody goes there except for people that want to get drunk and sleep with prostitutes, frankly. So don't go there.
Wow.
Unless you're trying to share the gospel.
Didn't expect that on today's episode, but there we are.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go witnessing to folks and go.
It's a good warning. Yeah, it's a good word of warning.
That's right. There's some things, you're going to see some things that you probably can't unsee. And welcome to our city. That's all I can say to you, So yeah, stuff like that. Places to eat, we've got guides for that. Things to go tour, we've got guides for that. If you want to see gators and things like that, we can get you hooked up to go in the right places and see that kind of stuff. And so, and then at the same time, there'll be some other things like I think through our partnership with NAM and the NAM Center there, we're going to have a number of Catch the Vision tours. And this will be the opportunity for you not just to see the charms of the city, but the challenges of the city, and to see the opportunity for the gospel here. Because this is a city. Look, I want Southern Baptists to see that stuff. I want them to see the good.
Yeah.
But I want them to see the hard too, because again, this city needs us here. And frankly, this is the kind of place we need to be. So I want them to see that kind of stuff and to Catch the Vision tour. And they have an opportunity to see and experience all those things while they're here.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of goes into our last question here. We really wanted to know, what's the one thing you wish Southern Baptists could know about ministry in New Orleans?
It is absolutely authentic and urgent right now. Crime's going up everywhere, right? We know that. So somebody gets shot in New Orleans and people text me about it. Look, it's going up everywhere. But admittedly, things are not in the best moment for New Orleans right now. It's a hard moment. And the gospel is needed here so badly. And yet when you come here, it's kind of like, and this is why I say it's not the South, right? And I don't just mean people aren't saying y'all, and you're not going to see rebel flags and stuff like that. What I mean when I say it's not the South is that the Christianity here is very authentic. It's kind of like if you went to Europe or China or something like that, you're not going to encounter a ton of Christians. But the ones that you do encounter, man, they mean it, because the context is so abrasive to them or challenging to them that those who believe here, they really have to go all in here. There is no cultural support to the Christianity here like there isn't everywhere else in the South. And that, while it comes with its challenges, it also creates a sweet, 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 authentic form of the faith here that I wouldn't take anything in the world for. So it's very authentic here about ministry, and it's super urgent and needed.
Yeah. Everybody we've kind of talked to about New Orleans, who's in New Orleans, has talked about the postmodernity of the city. And really it likens itself more to a New England type faith community, or, even Northwest, that kind of what we think about when we think of those two areas. New Orleans is more like that than it is Nashville.
That's correct. Absolutely. Much more like New England than anything you're going to get in Tennessee or Alabama or anywhere like that. That's correct.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dr. Dew, thank you again for everything you do there at New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. We appreciate you being here on the road to New Orleans, and we appreciate you at home watching each and every week here on the road to New Orleans, presented by New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary.